Welcome to my kitchen, a Viking's kitchen. What's on tap for today? Custard, the base for many of great pastries. You can serve custard by itself, add it to many other types of pastry, or add additional flavors to the custard while it's hot. Today we're going to add chocolate. Not to all of it because we're going to use the base for something else tomorrow. But you can add, as you'll see in another episode, Grand Marnier and some orange zest. That makes a different component and a different taste. You could add Kahlua. You could add that to the chocolate custard. It's the base of a lot of great pastry. Just as there's 5 basic sauces that pretty much make all the bases for all the sauces, is the base for all the sauces in the world. There are a couple deviations there. Custard is a great base for a lot of pastry, but make it from scratch. Don't get a box mix. Don't make it from powder. Eggs, milk, sugar, vanilla, real vanilla, not imitation vanilla. There's a huge difference. It's the same as going down the road in a car or walking with a cardboard cutout. That's the difference between real vanilla and imitation vanilla. Make sure that you use real ingredients. It's not that difficult to make. Let's get going. Got a double boiler going here, and that's going to be for the egg and sugar cornstarch mixture. So I'm just preheating that out on an external burner. This one here, we're going to start with the fresh milk. We're going to bring this up to a temperature of about 125 to 135 degrees. You should get one of these little thermometers here. You can pick them up at a restaurant supply house, possibly a home goods store. You're going to want one for many components of cooking and baking. While the milk and sugar are coming to temperature, we're going to mix the sugar and eggs and egg yolks together and get that ready, because we're going to slowly add the milk to the sugar. Because if you add the milk and sugar to the egg mixture too quickly, like if you just dumped it in there, you could scramble the eggs, which it means you'd end up with cooked eggs. Horrible for good pastry. This is eggs and egg yolks. So I separated the egg whites and I kept them. We're going to use those. I'm going to make some white cake later. Always utilize all the components of what you're using. Don't just dump it down the drain and then separate more eggs later on and use the egg whites and throw the yolks away. Wasteful. The gods frown upon that. Going to add the sugar. Now it's 8 ounces. This recipe calls for 8 ounces of sugar in the milk, 8 ounces of sugar with the egg mixture. If you don't have, go ahead and invest in a scale. There, you can pick one up, a decent one, for $12, $15, a digital scale. But if you don't have one and you can't get one, a cup of sugar, a little over a cup of sugar is about 8 ounces. In fluid weight, 8 ounces would be exactly a cup for like milk and water. Another thing you do not want to do is just take and walk away from this while it's coming to temperature. Even though I've got it on about 7, I'm working a little faster. You're going to want to have it on about 5, 5.5 if you're not used to doing this, because what you'll end up with is scalded milk at the base of the pan, and that can change the flavor of the custard drastically. We're at 130. So I'm going to let this set here off the burner. I'm going to keep this hot because we're going to pull this double boiler over this way. I'm going to add the milk. To the cornstarch. Make sure that this is combined thoroughly with no lumps, bumps, or indifferences. Good there. Now, to slowly incorporate this into the egg mixture. You notice how I put the base of the pot inside the bowl? Because when you're pouring it in like this, it can drip off the bottom. So if you just had the edge over, you're going to end up with a lot on your counter. You can see where I'm adding it in a very slow stream. I'm whipping it. I'm not whipping it at super high speeds. I don't want to incorporate a lot of air, but I'm stirring it. It helps to cool just a hair as it hits the egg mixture, and also keeps it from creating scrambled eggs. All right. Beautiful mixture. Now, we're going to add the cornstarch and milk sugar mixture. Same concept, keep stirring. That cornstarch is the thickening agent to the custard. We're going to put this up on the double boiler. Now this mixture we're going to bring up to about 180 to 190 degrees. And that's going to thicken the cornstarch. You're going to want to slowly stir this so that you do not end up with the cornstarch thickening up on the edge of the bowl. Why are we using a double boiler? Well, could you get by with just using it in the pot? Possibly, if you're very good and talented and you've done this many times. Is it safe? No. Use a double boiler. Even top pastry chefs, I always use the double boiler. We made batches when I had my patisserie bakery in a restaurant. We had, when we'd make a batch of custard, it would be about 4 to 6 times this size. And sometimes we'd have to make 2 or 3 a day. It went into a lot of pastries. And a lot of deviations, like I was telling you before about custard. You can add flavoring to it, different components like chocolate. But when you make Napoleons, you have to have chocolate custard and vanilla custard, 2 different layers between the puff pastry. But you can see how I'm agitating or working the custard. And I'm keeping the whisk running across the bottom of the pan evenly, making sure that it all can, you don't want to just stand in one area and do this, because on the outer rims or beside it, you will have that gelatinization happen from the cornstarch where it will thicken on the edge and you'll end up with clumps, and that's not good. You know, just a great bowl of custard is a wonderful thing, and so you get a free facial while you're doing this. You don't have to pay $50 for that. I'm going to turn it that way so the steam kind of rolls out away. Be very careful picking this pot up, because steam can come up and burn your hand, especially if you have delicate skin. Not what you want to have happen. It's time to add the vanilla. Once again, real vanilla. Very worth the price. And now the butter. I sliced that butter up. I'm going to turn the heat off. We have enough heat to finish this. 2 things. 1, conserving energy. 2, you don't need it. That pan's going to stay hot and boil for a little while. Oh, does that smell good? You just keep stirring until the butter has melted and is properly incorporated inside the custard. Okay. You're going to want to take a rag or actual oven mitts and bring it up off there. Be careful of the steam. It will burn you, and a steam burn is horrible. Most of you that have cooked have had a steam burn. It's about the worst. I don't know, any burn is bad, but a steam burn, something really unique about it, and it's not good. We're going to make some chocolate custard out of the vanilla custard. Very simple to do, but you don't have to tell your guests that. I'm taking about 3 cups of this. While it's still nice and hot, you cannot let this cool and do this. This has to be done at this stage right now. Whatever flavoring you want to add has to be added at this time. You see what's happening here. Use quality chocolate. If you've ever had chocolate that's cheap chocolate, you'll taste a wax or a paraffin in your mouth when you're done eating it. That's because they add the wax and the paraffin to the chocolate because it makes it easier at the end to melt or to use, and it's cheaper to manufacture. But good chocolate, you have to temper it, you have to know how to work with it, but it's a massive difference in the quality. Oh. It's still a little bit warm. Make it from scratch, make it real, make it good. Custard, chocolate custard, or many variations. We'll see you around.